So we're here at Vale Earth Fair 2024. Check this out. Watcher. Beat roll. Need to find someone. Oh my God! Come on people, it's cold. Roll up. What kind of person we're looking for, Bruce? Hey guys, Sam and Bruce here from Cannabis Chronicles. Today, we're at Vale Earth Fair with Green Retreat, and it's 420. That was cool. So what's your name?
Lawrence, but everyone calls me Lance.
Lance, what are your thoughts on legalising cannabis?
I mean, I'm 100% for it. It's got a lot of benefits. It's good for people with physical issues like chronic pain, a lot of people with terminal cancer, and even a financial reason, you might as well, so you can tax it. Because the amount of money that could be made from that market, it can fund a lot of things.
What kind of economic value do you think it would bring to Guernsey?
There's a chance for new industry. Obviously, we're very reliant on finance at the moment. A lot of jobs we created, obviously, we got like Fire Dog coming to the island. New lot was, what was it? Green Street, is it?
No, mate.
Green Retreat in town, criminalising addiction or mental health issues, it's not going to stop the issue. If there's people wanting to do it, they're going to do it. You're less people in prison, less of a burden on the taxpayer. By decriminalising it, it's reducing that taxpayer cost in the prisons. Money that can be diverted elsewhere, diverted to the schools, diverted to the hospitals, diverted to wherever the hell the states are planning on doing this time with that money. But
Cannabis was legalised and regulated like alcohol and tobacco. How do you think it would affect the youth?
No more than alcohol does. One of my friends, who used to be a policeman, he's pro-legalisation. You never have to fight anyone who's been stoned. You have to constantly fight people drunk, take them in. You see a lot of young people, they get into alcohol early and they can be violent or it can be destructive. Weed is just sort of, chills you out. But I do also think it shouldn't be allowed for underage. Because obviously there is a lot of stuff it can slow development of the prefrontal cortex, etc., etc. We should very much keep it like alcohol where it's 18 plus, only available for adults. As far as overall impact, I mean, young people are going to smoke weed. You're always going to have your teenage stoner in school. That's a given. It's been that case for decades, since it sort of became widespread. I don't think it would impact any more than it currently does. The only thing it would do is maybe reduce a lot of A, the stigma, and B, young people getting in trouble. You see people going to juvie for dealing drugs or being violent or whatever. As far as impact it's having, no more than what it currently does, I reckon. But obviously I'm not an expert.
I appreciate your answers, man. That's fantastic. That's all of it. That's brilliant. Thanks, Lance. We appreciate it.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
We've got a podcast called Cannabis Chronicles where we talk about cannabis in the Channel Islands. You're interested in answering a couple of questions?
I don't really smoke cannabis, so
Doesn't
maybe
matter.
I'm not. Okay, go on then.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
You up
Why
for it?
not? Yeah, go on then. Why not?
So, what's your name?
Ben.
Ben, you said that you don't smoke cannabis at all, is that correct?
Yeah, more or less.
Fantastic. So, what are your actual thoughts on the legalisation of cannabis?
I think it probably should be legalised because, from what I understand, there is a lot of benefits for it in a legal space, and it helps remove it from criminal gangs making profit off it. So you might as well legalise it and regulate it.
What kind of economic value do you think it would bring to Guernsey if it was to be legalized?
Well, if you taxed it, you could then use that money you make from the taxes to put into school systems or other projects for local community, which would help boost the economy.
And if it was to be legalised and regulated like tobacco and alcohol,
Yeah.
what kind of impact do you think that would have on the youth?
I think as long as there's education put along with it, that it would you would obviously make it so it's only 18 and above, just like alcohol. And there might be some underage using, like there is with anything. But as long as there's education there and the knowledge, I think it would be all right, and it wouldn't actually be much of an issue as people worry it would be. Yeah.
Really appreciate your answers.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks very much.
That's all right.
What's your name?
I'm Becca.
Nice to meet you, Becca. So just 3 questions for you. So,
right.
What are your thoughts on legalising cannabis?
Yeah, why not? I don't see there's plenty of things that are worse for us that you could buy in a supermarket. So
What are the economic benefits of legalising cannabis?
I'm actually not that informed about the economic benefits, but I'm not a very economically minded person in general.
If cannabis is legalized like
Yeah.
tobacco and alcohol, how do you think that would impact the youth?
I generally think that decriminalization is better than legalization. I don't like the idea of the government sort of involved in everything, but I think seeing something as normalized in a better way than tobacco and alcohol are, which are big business, it depends on how we would go about that and the message that the youth would get about how to consume it and why. Yeah, advertising, big deal in that as well. Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's
So what's your name?
My name's Jim.
Nice to meet you, Jim. A couple of questions. So, what are your thoughts on legalizing cannabis?
I think it's definitely got some positive potentials. I think it needs to be regulated for safety, but absolutely, I think it could be a really, really good thing.
What kind of economic value do you think it would bring to Guernsey if they were to legalize?
I think it's pretty huge. Obviously, there's the industries surrounding it, which could be bolstered in Guernsey. But I think another thing people are missing is the potential for actually bringing some people back into work. I certainly know a few people now on medical. I'm on medical myself, and without it, they wouldn't actually be working right now. And they work in places in banks in the States. They work in schools. Like, they're around, and without it, they wouldn't be working. So there's obviously really good economic benefits to that.
If cannabis was legalized and regulated like alcohol and tobacco, how do you think that would impact the youth?
To be honest, I think it's kind of become desperately uncool with the youth. Most of the people I know who have medical cannabis now, and all of the stoners in quotes, they're all people my age. It's really not something I see a lot of the youth really getting into.
No. And I'm joined with
Daisy.
Hey Daisy. So first question is, what are your thoughts on legalizing cannabis?
I think it's a great idea. I agree. I think we should legalize it.
Yeah? Fantastic. And if it was legalized, what economic impact do you think it would have?
I think it would bring a lot more money into the island, which I think would be a great thing, especially because tourism's going a little bit low at the minute, so I think it would bring more people in. I think it could only be a good thing.
So if cannabis was legalized and regulated like alcohol and tobacco are, how do you think it would impact the youth?
I think that it would be less taboo, so less people would be like, oh, I want to do it because I know it's illegal, and people would just treat it like alcohol. It'd be harder to get because, alcohol is at the minute, you have to have someone over 18 to buy it, so yeah, I think it would be more difficult for kids to get.
No, that's fantastic. But thank you very much. Thank you. So what's your name?
My name's Ryan Martel.
Nice to meet you, Ryan. So what are your thoughts on legalising cannabis in Guernsey?
Legalising cannabis in Guernsey is something that I've believed in for a good number of years now. I think it can only have a positive impact. You think of the trouble that alcohol causes versus the positivity of cannabis on people, it just seems like a no-brainer. Yeah, I'd ban drinking tomorrow if you could legalise cannabis in its place. That's kind of the way I've looked at it over the last good sort of 10 years. That's my thoughts.
That's a good point of view.
What kind of economic value do you think it would bring to Guernsey if they were to legalize?
Again, I'm not an economics expert, but to be honest, I always had it in my mind that it makes sense because obviously the revenue that can come into the island from the legalisation of cannabis would easily outweigh the minimal cost of policing it. Again, compared to so many other drugs that have such a harmful impact on the island, it would be such a minimal impact financially to bring it in, and I think actually we could be exporting it, which would be a huge income for the island as well. As soon as it's legalised here, the growing of it becomes more financially stable, and then you could actually look at exporting it to other areas.
So if cannabis was legalised and regulated like tobacco and alcohol is, what kind of impact do you think that would have on the youth?
I think it would still require a lot of education, just so that they fully understand the impact it can have. Taking any drug in any form, needs education before you can go ahead and do it. So I think in the long term it could have a positive impact, but obviously before the legalisation of it, there needs to be people really considering the education in schools and in youth areas, basically. Yeah, good
answer. I really appreciate that. Thanks very much. Cheers.